By the late 90s, Tony Hawk was a skateboarding icon. In 1999, his legacy was sealed at the X Games after he became the first skater to successfully land a 900, or 2.5 aerial revolutions, which was considered almost impossible at the time. He managed to pull it off after 10 failed attempts, and this feat helped usher in a wave of mainstream attention. After the release of arcade game Top Skater in 1997 and Street Skater on PlayStation in 1998, Activision, known then for hits like Quake and Dark Reign, felt that skateboarding simulation games were a growing market. And 3 months after the Birdman's momentous feat, they released not just one of the most influential extreme sports games ever, but one of the most influential video games ever made. That game was 1999's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. My name is One Hip, and thanks for clicking on this video. After finally tracking down the first 2 Tony Hawk games, it only felt right to give them the retrospective treatment, especially as I've covered most of Neversoft's later entries. I haven't played Pro Skater 1 since I was a kid, so going into this in the modern day really brought back that nostalgia for me. Anyway, here's my retrospective of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Let's go! Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was released on the PlayStation in North America on September 29th, and in mid-October in the rest of the world. It was later ported to the Nintendo 64, Dreamcast, Game Boy Color, and Nokia N-Gage. Let me know in the comments if you had one of those. In my country, Australia, the UK, parts of Europe and New Zealand, the game was named Tony Hawk's Skateboarding, but for consistency, I'll stick with the original title. All versions, except the Game Boy Color port, were released to critical acclaim, with critics praising the game for its innovative gameplay, strong soundtrack, and the game's influence on the skateboarding genre. It was also noted for bringing skateboarding into the mainstream. This universal admiration gave Neversoft the green light to develop a sequel, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, which would improve on everything from the first game, add new features such as manuals, and become one of the most acclaimed video games ever made. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was later remade as part of 2012's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD, developed by Robomodo, and in 2020's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, developed by Vicarious Visions. As of 2001, the game had sold over 3.5 million units worldwide, with the PlayStation version being the 3rd highest selling console game in 2000. Just behind its second-placed sequel. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was built on a modified engine of Neversoft's previous game called Apocalypse, a third-person action game starring Bruce Willis as the main character, Train Kincaid. Willis's character was used as a placeholder for this upcoming skateboarding game. After successfully building the concept up to a functional state, Neversoft told Activision that they required a professional skateboarder to assist with the remainder of the game's development. And in September 1998, Activision reached out to Hawk and arranged a meeting with him and Neversoft. He was very impressed with the game's development, and instead of taking a one-time payment, he accepted the use of his name and likeness as part of a smart royalty deal that gave him a cut for every copy sold. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater would be the start of an incredibly popular skateboarding franchise, with titles still being released today in remake form. And even in its first entry, the foundation for its iconic gameplay and level design was already taking shape. The game introduces into the series dedicated buttons to perform flip tricks, grabs, grinds, and hand plants. To move, you hold the ollie button down and let it go to get in the air to perform aerial tricks. You can also use the joystick or side D-pad buttons to change your skater's direction on the ground and rotate them during a maneuver. You can also use the up and down buttons to shift your skater's board position in air or when you're about to perform a grind. Moving the joystick diagonally or pressing 2 D-pad buttons at the same time lets you perform even more tricks, such as Benihanas, hard flips, and crooked grinds, among others. These tricks can be changed together to form a combo, and successful maneuvers earn you points that are added to your run total. Once you've done enough tricks, you build up your special meter, which allows you to perform special tricks with its own button combinations. There's no balance meter for grinds, but your skater may lean to the side, and you can recenter their balance during during the trick. You'll bail if you land off balance or don't finish a trick in time, which gives you no points and empties your special meter. There are no manuals or reverts in this game, so being able to chain together huge combos like in later games is very tricky, if not impossible. Gaps, like jumping between platforms or grinding full rails, give you bonus points when hit correctly. There are also bonus point icons you can collect to increase your combo score. The controls to move around felt a little stiff at times, and there were occasions where I had to completely stop to turn to where I wanted to go. But pulling off tricks felt great. I also appreciated that this game didn't focus on getting massive combos, and it felt more grounded in a way. I know the names Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and realism don't usually go together, but I appreciated this more realistic approach. The biggest combos that I'd pull off would usually be flip tricking into a grind, and then grinding and either flipping out of it or going onto a neighbouring rail, or pulling off a flip trick followed by a grab when on a vert ramp or in a bowl. There were also times where, due to muscle memory, I would attempt a manual to change my combos together, but then I'd remember that the game doesn't have manuals. Obviously that's a me thing after not playing this for more than 2 decades, but I just wanted to point that out. There are 6 goal and 3 competition levels. Goal levels include Warehouse, located in Woodland Hills, School in Miami, Mall in New York, Downtown in Minneapolis, Downhill Jam in Phoenix, and Streets in San Francisco. Competition levels include real-world locations, such as Skate Park in Chicago, which is loosely based on Vans Park, and Burnside in Portland. There's also an unlockable competition level called Roswell, located in New Mexico. Before Pro Skater, skateboarding games were mostly downhill, and you didn't have the freedom to go to an area that you wanted to. The original vision of this game focused on this same design, but Neversoft decided to shift to make the game trick-focused and open-ended in its levels. This makes the levels more lateral, with the exception of Mall and Downhill Jam, which are homages to the original concept. Highlights for me include Warehouse, School, and Mall, with very thoughtful and enjoyable designs and plenty of assets to perform tricks on. My least favourite by far is Downhill Jam, as completing fetch goals was very tricky with the game's mechanics, and if you miss something higher up, you have to go back up to where you were to try again. It wasn't a game-breaking issue, but I felt that Mall did this better, with clearly placed ramps and planter boxes in designated areas away from the main path. I also liked seeing video screens with seeing things like skate clips and music videos on them as a really nice touch. Overall, I was very impressed with the gameplay and level design, and it reminded me of how significant these mechanics were when the game was originally released. They may seem basic now, but this was the blueprint for the entire series, and it still holds up better than you would expect. Thanks for still being here with me. I've covered later Tony Hawk games from Neversoft, and for the next video I'll be doing one on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of them. You can also watch other game retrospectives, as well as some video essays that I've done in the past. Anyway, on to Pro Skater's features and soundtrack. The game's main feature is Career Mode. You select a pro skater, with the original lineup including the Birdman himself, Bob Burnquist, Jeff Rowley, Bucky Lasek, Chad Musker, Kareem Campbell, Andrew Reynolds, Rune Glifberg, Jamie Thomas, and Alyssa Steamer. You also pick your board, truck tightness, and wheel color, and you unlock higher rated boards and better stats as you obtain goal tapes. For goal levels, you get a 2-minute run to collect as many of each level's 5 goal tapes as you can. Goal tapes include tasks such as reaching Pro and 6 scores, obtaining all of the skate letters, destroying or knocking down 5 of a certain item, and finding the hidden tape. Called a secret tape in later games, the hidden one would be found in a hard-to-reach spot or in a hidden part of the level. As you collect more tapes, you unlock new levels and higher stats and gear. For competition levels, you get 3 1-minute runs to earn as many points as you can. You receive a final score out of 100 by judges for each run, and you have your score lowered after bailing or doing repetitive tricks. Your highest 2 runs are counted, and you earn a medal, gold, silver or bronze, if you finish 1st, 2nd or 3rd overall respectively. After medaling in the Roswell competition, the credits roll and you're free to go back into career to complete any goals and earn gold medals if you wish to do so. If you collect all 30 tapes, you unlock Officer Dick. Completing the game to 100% also unlocks Private Carrera, both secret skaters who would appear again in later games. When you earn 3 of any medal in career, you unlock unlock a Bales video. When they're all gold, you unlock your Skater's Ending video. And when you get 3 medals playing as Officer Dick, you unlock a Neversoft Bales video. Other modes in this game include Single Session, a 2-minute run on any unlocked level to get as many points as you can, and Free Skate, where you can roam around for as long as you like. You can also watch and save full replays or highlights of your previous run, which is really cool. You can also watch these and other unlocked videos in the View Videos section in the main menu, and you can adjust settings for things like sound in the Options menu. The game's soundtrack is small, but it's one of the most iconic in the series. Personal favourites include Police Truck by Dead Kennedys, which is also in the game's opening video, Screamer / Nothing to Me by Speed Dealer, Psycho Vision by, let's just call them for YouTube purposes, Tendencies, and fan favourite Superman by Goldfinger. It's a legendary soundtrack which helped shape many players' tastes in music, and honestly, it's hard to imagine this game without it. The sounds of grinding, tricking, and rolling along on your board sound good for that era, and nice touches like the clanging of metal when you hit something like a billboard contribute to the overall audio experience. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater wasn't just a hit, it was also a watershed moment. For a lot of people, including myself, it was their first real exposure to skateboarding. Overnight, you had kids who had never stepped on a board talking about kickflips, learning what a 50-50 grind was, and listening to punk, ska, and hardcore bands that they'd never heard before. This game didn't just reflect skate culture, it also helped shape it for an entire generation. Mechanically, it laid the foundation for the rest of the series. Everything from the level-based structure, to the way tricks, gaps, and score systems worked, even down to the 2-minute time limit, would all become a blueprint for not just future Tony Hawk games, but for a lot of extreme sports titles that followed. Without Pro Skater, there'd be no Tony Hawk's Underground, no EA Skate, no Session. None of those. This was the spark. Going back to it now, it does feel limited. The lack of manuals, reverts, and balance meters makes combo chaining feel pretty basic by today's standards. But in a way, that's part of its charm. It's raw, it's focused, and it knows exactly what it's trying to do, and it nails it. The gameplay still feels satisfying, the level design still holds up, and that soundtrack still hits. It's easy to forget how risky this kind of game was back in 1999. Skateboarding wasn't mainstream yet, but Neversoft, Activision, and Tony Hawk took a chance, and it paid off. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater didn't just kick off a franchise, it also kickstarted a movement. Thanks for watching. What are your memories of this game? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, and subscribe to watch my current and future retrospectives. I also want to thank my newest channel member and Ko-fi donor, whose names are on screen. I really appreciate your further support of the channel. If you wish to join them, you can become a channel member or donate to my Ko-fi page. Links are in the description. My name is OneHip, and you have a good one. Bye!